Great, we're live. So we have Ramon here from Babylon Finance, and he's going to give a session on how to start your DeFi investment on DAO. Ramon, I let you take the stage.
Thank you. You can see my slides, right?
Yep.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. Yes, she said, I'm Ramon, one of the founders of Babylon Finance. And during this session, we're going to explain a little bit what's Babylon, what can you build using Babylon, and how to do it. So let's get started. First of all, Babylon Finance is a decentralized protocol that helps people invest in DeFi together. Through Babylon, you can create investment clubs, DeFi investment clubs that you can also call on-chain investment DAOs. And the goal of these investment DAOs in the end is to provide yield to investors. And they invest together through these investment clubs in different DeFi strategies, and through those different DeFi strategies, they build wealth together. So you can see Babylon as this conglomerate of different investment clubs that we call gardens, and they are all united by the Babel token, that is the governance protocol, the governance token of our protocol, and they are all united by this shared goal of creating wealth for people. And every garden can have a different investment thesis, different risk criteria, different investment time frame. For example, you can have some gardens, some investment clubs that are formed around finding yield with a really low risk tolerance. For example, just lending DAI or lending stable coins. And you can have some other gardens that are gonna be really high risk, and they're gonna take leverage positions on several farming protocols to achieve the highest yield. So Babylon Finance started from a personal desire to share all the things that I was seeing in DeFi with my friends and family, because there are a lot of benefits of investing together versus going alone, or going solo. First of all, right now, and for the last few years, it has been really difficult to invest in Ethereum because every DeFi operation costs several $100s. So for example, if you want to deposit money into Curve and then stake the LP tokens on Convex, that will cost you like $300. But now imagine that you're pulling together with 99 other friends, so you are 100 people investing together. So now the garden or the investment club will execute this operation just once for all 100 of you. And then the whole operation will still be $300, but then the cost for each one of you will be $3. So it would be like 100x gas savings for each of you. Of course, it depends on the number of members on each investment club. Another good benefit of investing together through these investment clubs is that users will be able to consolidate taxable transactions. Because when you do it on your own, every transaction is potentially taxable. This depends on your tax jurisdiction, and you should go on the details. You should research the details with a tax expert. But what investment clubs on chain can do for you, or what DAOs can do for you, is like they can execute hundreds of operations on your behalf, but the users, they just care about depositing into the investment club and then withdrawing, because it's when a taxable transaction happens, because it's when you exchange an asset like DAI to get in, and you receive the tokenized share that represent your participation in the club, and then when you exit, the opposite, you give back your participation in the club, and then you receive back the original asset. Another benefit is that the crypto and DeFi is a market that never sleeps. It's 24/7. So it's really impossible to keep up with it, even if you stay all day glued to the screen. So by investing with others, you get to split the fees, split the gas costs, share the profits, and also learn from each other and share the load of keeping up with all the things that are going on. So now that we know a little bit what is the vision behind Babylon and what are these investment clubs that we call Garden, let's go a little bit deeper into how they work mechanically. So these gardens are tokenized ERC20 funds, where people deposit assets like stable coins or Ethereum or wrapped Bitcoin, and they get a token, an ERC20, that represents their participation in this club. or this investment DAO. So once people have the token that represents their participation, they can suggest a strategy. And this strategy can be, for example, lending DAI on Compound or investing in this year bond. Once this person suggests a strategy, only the other members in that club or in that garden that have the ERC20 token can upvote or downvote this strategy. If this strategy gets approved by enough members, then it will receive capital from the garden or from the club. So it would receive capital from all the members. So gardens, in effect, they don't need to have a single manager that manages everything and then needs to take all the decisions where to allocate the capital. This is different than a traditional hedge fund. We are reinventing funds on chain from first principles. At the same time, all the participants have a skin in the game, because from the person that creates a strategy to the people that vote those strategies, depending on how the strategy performs, what the profits are, and depending if you voted for it or you rejected it, then you will get rewarded. And same thing for the person that created the strategy. If the strategy did well, the strategist is going to get rewarded. And if the strategy did really poorly, the strategist is going to get penalized. At the same time, gardens are non-custodial. This means that not even the managers or the strategists, the people that create the strategy, they don't have access to user funds directly. Only strategies, when they get approved by all the members, can receive funds from the club. Finally, all the informations and all the transactions are available on Etherscan and on the Ethereum blockchain, and is permissionless. Everyone can create an investment club and everyone can create strategies within an investment club. Although some investment clubs can be set up so only some addresses have permission to do so. Another feature of the gardens is that the gardens can create strategies using a no-code UI that plugs into more than 15 DeFi protocols like Convex, Carve, Aave, Compound, Uniswap, Pickle, Yearn, or Lido. So now that we know a little bit how gardens work, let's go deeper into the architecture and how the protocol is structured. Don't get overwhelmed by this graphic. Basically, you can see that there are two main entities here. One is the garden and the other one is the strategy. One thing to take into account is like the garden, that is the investment club, is where the funds are pooled. So you have the LPs that are the people that deposit capital and they receive the garden tokens in return. And the creator of the garden, that is the one that is also a contributor and LP because it needs to deposit to be a normal member, and is the one that sets the initial thesis of the garden. And then the LPs, when they want to exit, they will return these garden tokens and receive the capital they deposited plus the profits and the performance fees, if any. And then within a garden, like we talked a little bit before, people and strategies can suggest these strategies. And then all the other members in the garden can vote to approve these strategies that are what we call stewards here in this graph. And they will need to stake and be a member of the garden to be able to vote on them. Then finally, these strategies, once they finish, they will return the capital to the garden with the potential profits or the losses. And then when a strategy finalizes, we'll also return and allocate bubble rewards to the members of the garden depending on the performance. Because every strategy receives like a stake of the protocol depending on how well it performed. Because the goal of the bubble token and the mining rewards, that is 50% of all the token allocation, all the total supply, is designed to reward the people that create the most wealth for others. So the more capital a strategy receives, the more mining rewards it will receive, depending on the profits. The higher the profits, the higher the rewards. The longer it lasted, the higher the rewards. And the more capital it receives, the higher the rewards. And the treasury of the protocol receives also like 0.5% management fee and 5% of the profits, if any. And that's how the treasury of the protocol accrues value and becomes self-sustainable for the long term. So from a data perspective, these entities that we mentioned, the gardens, the Babylon protocol is this collection of gardens that are the investment clubs, and their focus is and their goal is to pull capital from a bunch of different LPs or members. And these gardens can be created from the UI or from the smart contracts directly. It's totally permissionless, as we said before. Then at the same time, every garden can have one-to-one strategies. And these strategies basically allocate capital from the garden to the investment ideas that were approved by the members. And the strategies can be created from the UI, from our no-code UI, or from the smart contracts directly. Then every strategy can have one or more operations. For example, a DeFi strategy can be as simple as just lending DAI onto Compound, but can be more complicated and, for example, be a strategy that lends Ethereum on Aave, then borrows DAI and puts that DAI into this curve pool, and then uses the curve LP tokens to stake them into Convex. So that strategy would have effectively 4 operations. And these operations are created through the UI as part of the strategy builder, or can be created again through the smart contracts. And then every operation has an integration that is basically the adapter to connect with each DeFi protocol. So now we're gonna see a quick demo of the UI to see how you can create a club in just a few minutes using our UI. Because it's a lot easier to understand all these things if you actually see them working. So once you go to our website, you will see the list of gardens that are verified by governance, and you will see all the other gardens that we have. So far, we have around 100 investment clubs, around 22 million in TVL, and we released publicly this month. So here at the top, you will see that there is a button so you can create your investment DAO in just a few minutes. So here are a few instructions, but then basically you will be able first to say, okay, my long LFG. So you can set the name of your investment club, then you can set the symbol of the token that the people receive when they deposit capital. It's like, then you can also set which one is the reserve asset. This means which asset users will need to deposit to become a member, and also this asset will be used to measure the performance. Then you can say what is the thesis of the garden, that is like what is the time period, what is the risk criteria, and other time preferences for the investors. So they know if this investment club fits their preferences or not. Another thing you can do is you can also set an NFT membership, and you can also set like a minimum time in the garden. So then for people that have stayed within your investment DAO or within your investment club, for example, for 10 days, you will set like something like 10 days on it. And then they will be able to mint the NFT after that time has passed. Then we will have a lot of other features regarding what is the minimum amount to deposit, what is the maximum amount you can deposit, how long you need to stay in the garden before you're able to withdraw, that is this deposit hard lock. Then some protection measures like how much can the share price of the garden change. This can protect against Oracle manipulations and make the swaps even more secure. Then you can also modify what is the performance fee. On top of the 5% that the protocol is getting, you can control here how much for every strategy, the strategies will get of the profits, if any, and the same for the voters. And you can also do things like, okay, you can make the whole garden private, or you can make the garden public so everyone can deposit, and then you can make the votes public, which means that everyone can vote on strategies to approve them so they receive capital. And then finally, you can also set open strategies. So then that means that anyone that is a member would be able to suggest investment ideas or strategies. Finally, we have a few more settings that control like the guardrails for the garden. That is like, okay, how long the strategies can last, how many people need to vote for a strategy to make it happen, so it gets approved and raises capital, and a few more risk settings. Finally, this will give you the review of all the things that you set up, and that will be it. Then you will need to deposit the amount, and you will be able to create a garden, and in 1 minute you will have your garden created on chain. And right now it costs like at the current gas prices, it costs only like $100 or so to have your investment on chain. So now quickly, I'm also gonna show you how the strategy no-code UI works once you have a garden. This is a test garden that we created a while ago to test things. It has just a little bit of capital. In this case, you see that there is only like 0.3 Ether. You can see the share price, you can see the rewards, you can see which strategies are active, that in this case, it's nothing, there is only idle capital. You can see the performance in the past, the thesis, this just test, all the criteria, and then which people are in this garden. But let's create a new strategy, a new investment idea. Example, let's do, it's like, we want to enter a card pool and then stake the LP tokens onto Convex. So in this case, we will select an operation that is adding liquidity. We'll select curve, and then once curve, we will find the curve that we want. In this case, try pool, and we see that then we're going to be able to chain and stake the LP tokens in Convex, curve, and Pickle. In this case, after this, we're going to have a new operation, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to stake it. We're going to stake it onto Convex and select it. And that's almost it. Then we will set a few more parameters, that how long we want this strategy to run, how long I'm willing to put my stake, and how much stake I'm willing to risk to be able to qualify for getting the 10% of rewards that the strategies gets. And then a few more settings regarding the slippage and gas to make sure we don't spend much of the capital allocated to the strategy on gas. And that's it. Basically, you will be able to submit the strategy on chain, and this will be like pretty cheap at these current gas prices, $240 right now, because it has spiked a bit. And then you will have this strategy created, and other members will be able to vote on it. And if they approve it, then it will receive capital. So now that we got demo, then let's go a bit further and let's go back to the presentation. So now we've seen that this really is to create this DeFi investment DAOs from the UI. That what Babylon offers also is basically a new primitive. So you get these tokenized on-chain funds as a primitive, and it's a new primitive on DeFi. And you can use them as a Lego block, and from your contracts, you can react to market events or to things that happen on your protocol or on your application. And for example, create strategies on demand and have them running based on market events to hedge your positions, or create an investment DAO automatically whenever a hack happens, or the sky is the limit. So some ideas of what can you build using the garden, and this actually have relation to communities that are already created. For example, this is the Fountain of ETH that is one of our bigger communities, and it's all focused in accumulating Ether without being exposed to the fiat price. And we have a bunch of active strategies. One of them, for example, right now is lending STETH on Aave, then borrowing from it, and then borrowing WETH, and then getting more STETH, and then 3 times to achieve like a leverage position. Right now, today, STETH is a bit depegged versus Ether, so that's why it's down. But as soon as it recovers, the profit will show here, and you can see that there is another strategy that is lighting the fuse, that is lending Ether. And then you can see the performance over time, the thesis, the properties, and this garden showcases really well how you can have an investment goal that in this case accumulate Ether, and then use different protocols, connect to different protocols to achieve that goal. Then another thing you can do is create an index of the offerings of a protocol using a garden. And one garden that we launched last week is the Pickle field. Right now, Pickle has like 30 or 40 yards available, but you will need to spend gas to get into each one of them. But using a garden, you can just deposit DAI and get exposure to all the top Pickle yards in a single DAI deposit. That actually also our deposits are gas-free because we have done a bunch of work to make it happen. And then you will get exposure to all of these yards at once. And these yards are actively managed to make sure that you always get like the top yards managed by the community. So you can use Babylon to create like an index offering of a DeFi protocol. Finally, you can also use Babylon to create like a staking mechanic, and a staking mechanic that you can use to, so then members will need to deposit that token in the garden, and then basically the garden will use that token, those deposits, to generate more return. And it's something that our heart uses. We are dog fooding our garden technology to create the heart of Babylon, that is our staking mechanic, and it's also our garden, our heart garden. It does a bunch of things. We have a detailed Medium post explaining all the things it does. For example, it's backs the token. It also invests in other gardens. It also adds liquidity to Uniswap, and it also adds liquidity to our Fuse pool and to our treasury. So that's a bit about ideas that you can do with Babylon. Then regarding our SDK, we have a website with detailed documentation about all our API, our interfaces, our deployment addresses, and then we have a repository that is babylon.finance/contracts, where you can see all of our interfaces, some documentation, the architecture, and we also have already set up a test file with all the things you need to be able to create gardens, strategies, deposit into a garden, vote for them, execute them, finalize them, and being able to withdraw. So quickly, I can show you this in the code. Sure, this is too small, but basically in this code, you will see how to call our controller to create a garden, and you will pass the parameters like the name, the reserve asset, all the ones that we saw in the UI. Then the same thing about how to create a strategy, then how to deposit to a garden, how to vote for a strategy, how to execute a strategy, how to finalize it, and how to withdraw. And at the same time, we also have created tests in this repository, and you can run them executing run tests. The only thing you need to set up to run the test is to grab an API key from Alchemy and set it up in your environment variable. You have the documentation here, and that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, we are going to be in Discord available during the next few weeks, and you can also go to our Babylon Discord if you have anything else that you want to chat about, ideas, suggestions, feedback. And just to reiterate, we have $10,000 in prizes that are going to be awarded for the top 3 uses of gardens. And that's it. I think we can stop there. I'm sure there are some questions, so I'll stop right there.
Thanks, Ramon. I think there's a question in the chat. Carl asks, on which network can you create a garden?
Yep, thank you. Right now we are on mainnet Ethereum only, and we took this decision carefully because we think long term you probably want this investment class or this investment DAOs on the network that has the most security. That for now is Ethereum. That said, long term we plan to deploy to other protocols and to other chains. Starting this summer, we're gonna deploy to layer 2s on Ethereum, Arbitrum, Optimism, and Polygon. but a few more months later, we are gonna look into cross-chain liquidity, because our idea is like the gardens will still be on mainnet, but these gardens will be able to deploy capital to strategies that may be on Avalanche, or maybe on Solana, or maybe on Arbitrum or other. So you will still be able to get the security benefits of being on Ethereum, but being able to find where the best yield at the moment is. Yeah, I see
Do you
that
have any examples of DeFi products built on Babylon or past one?
Yeah, the first one I saw that is the Fountain of ETH. I think is to take into account that we just released this month publicly, and the Fountain of ETH already has like 10 million in capital. That was and is during this bear market is quite difficult to achieve that. But you can see the Fountain of ETH and all of our other gardens that are up in our website, and you can see the Heart as well, that the Heart has done really well. The Heart has already accumulated like around 70,000 Bubble tokens, that is our governance token, and has returned so far like more than 100% APR to depositors. I see another question as well. Is the voting done on chain? Yes, the voting is done on chain, but is free for users. It's based on signatures, and is basically stored on a database. But then all the signatures are submitted on chain, and we do some smart things to be able to compute all the signatures to make sure that the strategy is approved. Oh, I see another question about Superfluid. Superfluid is actually something that we are looking into, and is an integration into Superfluid is really interesting, and I would encourage you to work on it. Something that we're going to release that is almost ready, but I didn't cover it. It's like right now Babylon integrates with 15 DeFi protocols, but we're also releasing this Wednesday the custom SDK, so you can build your own integration, and you can also connect Babylon to your own protocol or to your own smart contract, and that will be available starting this Wednesday. How easy is this to integrate with other chains? It depends on the chain. The EVM compatible chains, it should be relatively straightforward. The most complicated things there is that the DeFi protocols that are on different chains are different. So although many of them are forks, some of them have different logic. So you need to make sure that, for example, our protocol depends heavily on Compound, Aave, Uniswap, Curve, Convex. Some of these protocols are on Optimism, Arbitrum, but some of them are not. And we need to find replacements and being able to, because Babylon depends on integrating with a lot of DeFi. We help other DeFi protocols get more TVL, and by helping them is how we grow. So we depend on having this mature ecosystem. So that's why we're waiting also a little bit to see which ecosystems mature. Yeah, you can create hackathon. For example, using our test, you can create the gardens on Hardhat, that is a local testnet. But then you can also configure it to use Rinkeby if needed. There is a minimum 2.5 ETH deposit. It depends on the garden. Different gardens have minimum deposits, but right now some of our verified gardens on mainnet is true that they have around $2,000 or $3,000. Not Ether. I think it's around 1 Ether, the Fountain of ETH. I know we are over time, but if you have any more questions, please follow us on Twitter, and then go to our Discord, and we'll be there for the next few weeks. So, and we're pretty responsive. So please let us know if you need anything.
Great, thanks a lot, Ramon. Have a good day, everyone, and see you.
Thank you.